Subjective instruction, Srila Prabhupada writes, is given by the pure devotee who's absorbed within his heart in ecstatic devotional feelings for Krishna. Of course, Srila Prabhupada doesn't make a display. He's very formal and he acts like he's one of us, but it's written that the pure devotee may not reveal these things, and there are very good reasons for that. And we can talk about that. But he's always within himself feeling these ecstatic feelings of love for Krishna. Even in our daily prayers, Mahaprabhu, Kirtana Nrita Gita, Paditra Madhyan Manasora Sena, that the spiritual master is always meditating on the activities of Lord Chaitanya. And sometimes he feels trembling in his body, just thinking about these things. And this is our spiritual master. So similarly, it says that the spiritual master, he's very much expert in assisting the gopis who are engaged in the perfection of Radha Krishna conjugal love affairs. At different times, they make different tasteful arrangements for such spiritual exchange, and the spiritual master is there to assist in these affairs. This is our prayer. We pray, we say this every day. But he doesn't show, because there are people who imitate, and there's all kinds of nonsense. And when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was beginning to take the role of Acharya, there were some 13 different groups that were claiming to be followers of Lord Chaitanya. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that at that time, these people were so degraded that respectable people in India would have very little to do with Vaishnavism. They're in the name of Vaishnavism and in the name of following Lord Chaitanya, people. I have seen online video of people who are pretending that they're in ecstasy, and other people are fanning them to revive them.
Well,
There may so Srila Prabhupada says that if you see somebody standing before the altar in the temple, and you see this person begin to faint and fall on the ground, on the floor in front of the altar because he's in ecstasy, what you do is you kick him in the head. You kick him very well in the head, because he's in so much ecstasy that he won't mind. That's what. So Srila Prabhupada, in other words, and the members of our disciplic succession, the acharyas, they know all about these people. You can go to any church. I have seen videos of people in Christian churches doing the same thing. They're having ecstasies, and other people are fanning them and supporting them so they shouldn't fall down. People, it's very hard to understand why people would be so foolish as to pretend in that way, but they do. So Srila Prabhupada does not display ecstatic symptoms. As Srila Prabhupada acts like a Madhyamadhikari, And acharya means he acts in such a way that it gives a nice example for us to follow. He doesn't have to eat. He doesn't have to sleep. He doesn't have to take airplanes. He doesn't have to take medicines. He doesn't have to do anything. But he behaves like one of us. And that's what an acharya does. An acharya is someone who says, see how I am acting, and you follow me. You act like I'm acting. I'm setting the standard. I'm giving the example. So getting back to objective and subjective instruction, subjective instruction, Srila Prabhupada says that
here it is. We
even
have it here.
though, where is this? What are you? Oh, yes, thank you. There's two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is a liberated person, absorbed in meditation. He's meditating within his heart. He's fully absorbed in meditation. And the other is he who lost it.
Invokes.
Invokes the disciple's consciousness by means of thus by means of relevant instruction. In this way, the instructions in the science of devotion, they're differentiated in terms of objective and subjective ways of understanding. The real acharya, in the true sense, he's authorized by his spiritual master and by Krishna to deliver Krishna. He enriches the disciple. He enriches, just like what is enriched? You buy flour at the store. It's enriched. It has a specific ingredient. He enriches. What is that ingredient? The ingredient is love, for feelings of love for Krishna. So the real acharya, he can enrich the disciple. He enriches us with that quality, with full spiritual knowledge, and he awakens him. We're in a sleeping condition to the activities of devotional service. So this subjective instruction, if we read, why is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita? We have Bhagavad Gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Bhagavad Gita is mostly Sambandha, the nature of things. Bhagavad Gita I am not this body. We are pure spirit soul. We are eternal part and parcel of Krishna. But now that we're covered by Krishna's illusory energy, we feel separate, and we, under the influence of the material nature, specifically the mode of passion, and we always have love of Krishna in our heart. It cannot be separated from the spirit soul. It's explained in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita that when the spirit soul comes in touch with the mode of passion, Rajagun, that love is transformed. It is expressed. It causes the living entity to think that I am this body, and that the satisfaction that I'm hankering for at every moment in my life, that can be attained by pleasing my false ego and my senses. And that desire is actually love for Krishna, which is being misdirected under the influence of the material nature. So all of this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, and that this love is actually meant for Krishna, and that although there are many different forms, karma yoga, jnana yoga, etc., and there are different kinds of yogis and Sankhya yoga. All these things are explained in Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna says that you give and all of these ideas of social obligation, identification with family, with society, with race, with nation, all of these things, and their sense of duty, so many senses of duty Arjuna was presenting, and Krishna says, you're sounding like, you're talking like you're a very learned person, but actually you're fool number one. Not that I should say Arjuna is fool number one. Arjuna is Krishna's pure devotee, but he's under Krishna is putting him in that position of bewilderment. So, and Arjuna, he admits, Arjuna says that now I'm confused about my duty. I've lost my composure because I have this miserly weakness. And what does it mean, miserly weakness? We have this great fortune, like a person has $1 billion or $100 billion, but he can't spend it. It's in the bank, but he can't spend it. He's living very, very frugally, So Arjuna says, I have this great fortune, Karpanya dosha, Karpanya. The word is kripana, but in that way of speaking Sanskrit is pronounced karpanya. So he says, because what is that weakness? Is that actually, if I have love for Krishna, without separate endeavor, I'll have complete knowledge of my eternal nature, and I'll have detachment from all material ideology. I'll have complete detachment from all material designations, and life will become very simple. But now I'm confused about what to do and what not to do. He says, because of this miserly weakness, that I'm not giving my love to Krishna. And because of that, I'm under the influence of the illusory energy. So all of this is explained in Bhagavad Gita. This is philosophy. That's grade 1. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam describes in 12 cantos leading up to the 10th canto. There's a tremendous amount of teachings, canto by canto. To drive, we should understand who Krishna is. Om Namo Bhagavate. Therefore, the invocation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Who Vasudevaya, the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Bhagavate, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Namo, I bow down to him. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. Janmadhyasya Jatan Nibhyada Taratas Charteshu Avignya Swarat. Avignya Swarat. It's completely independent of any other cause beyond himself. Tene Brahma Hridaja. Hrida, in the heart of Lord Brahma, this Krishna, who's the son of Vasudeva, he has imparted knowledge to Lord Brahma how to create this universe. That's who Krishna. Hrida Adhikavaye Mihante Yatsura Tejo Vari Mridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra 3-star Go Mrisha. Because of him, everybody is under the influence of this material nature. Janamrita Tattva. Anyway, unless I have to say the whole thing, I'll get lost. But that he says that's why that's why I worship. That's why I meditate. Dhimahi is the last word. Tene Brahma Hridaja Adikavaya Muhanti Yatsuraya Tejovari Mridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Three Sargo Mrishas Damna Swina Sada Narasta Kuhukam Tatwam something Dhimahi. That's why I meditate on Krishna, because that's who he is. So, and then we lead up to, and then we understand, okay, Bhagavad Gita said, you Krishna, you give up all this stuff. You give up all these ideas of your material position in this world that has made you so confused, and you give me your heart. That's all. Sarva Dharma, all sense of Dharma. There are 22 Dharma Shastras. Imagine 22 Vedic books just on rules how to live in this material world in a progressive way. And people do that so they can get good karma. So they can get you give up all of this, Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Parityaga. Mom, Ekam, just give yourself to me. Eka means one only. Sharanam Raja. You surrender. You surrender to me. Aham, Twam, Sarvapapi. Because Arjun's very worried about he's going to do the wrong thing. Papi, sinful. Aham, I will free you. Moksha Isyami, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. Moksha, I'll free you from all results of sinful activity. You can't do anything wrong if you just become my devotee. There's nothing you can do wrong if you do it in love for me. Even there's nothing you can do wrong if you do it because that's the only thing that's really right for the spiritual soul is to love Krishna, and everything else is wrong. No matter how pious it is, it's binding to this world, to this prison house of birth and death. So you give up all these ideas of right and wrong, and you just learn, but how, okay, love of God is great. Just become a lover of God, which is what Jesus says. Same thing. They ask him, what's the most important rule? They're trying to trap him.
Love
the
God.
Priests.
All your heart.
And he says, you love God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your mind, with all your might. That's the most important rule. And the second is like, you love everyone like yourself, but nobody can love everyone like themselves till they become a pure devotee.
Yes.
So this is pure devotional service, but people are not following, and they're changing everything, and in the name of they're trying to improve their material condition. Anyone who follows a path of karma yoga, jnana yoga, sankhya yoga, this yoga, that yoga, trying to be a good person, they're cultivating their next birth in the material world. They're cultivating their bondage to the cycle of birth and death. So this is a lesser principle, although it's good. It's good in that people are recognizing something higher than themselves, their own self-centered grasping for happiness in this material world. It's good in that sense, but because they're so materialistic and they cannot be convinced that material pursuit is the cause of bondage. All right, Krishna says, you continue pursuing material things, but do it in such a nice way that you're gradually elevated. So
Hmm,
Krishna
hmm.
says, you give up all this and you just become a lover of God. You just love me. But how can people love him? They don't know anything about him.
Hmm.
Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the next level of teaching. We learn, like Srila Prabhupada says, we know his name, his address, his phone number. We know everything. We know what he looks like, how he likes to dress, how he likes to relate to his devotees. We know there are some 90 chapters in the 10th canto, each one describing Krishna's pastimes. We
So I'd
get
like
to
to raise
know
a question
Krishna.
here.
You get to, okay,
So
and I'm going somewhere,
yes.
but go ahead,
So you're talking about
please.
pure, yes, you're talking about pure devotional service, sarva dharman parityaja. So that is the ultimate goal, or that is the goal. And now we see that the pure devotee is acting in that consciousness, right? He's living his life in that devotional attitude. So for a conditioned soul, when he sees and reads these things, how does he act and behave? I mean, definitely the consciousness of a pure devotee and a Kanishta Adhikari starting up in Krishna consciousness, they're reading the same books. Prabhupada is, saying these things. So it would seem like it's a very, like a Mount Everest, like climbing Mount Everest without any practical skills. So how does one immediately take it up? That's the question. Start with.
Okay. So if a person is very well situated in this material world,
Hmm.
the results of good karma. What that
Janma Sutta Sri.
Yeah, Janma Janmaishwarya
Ah,
Sutta
yes,
Sri.
yes.
Janma, he's born he's a prince. He's born in a palace. He has people dressing him and putting him in his pajamas at night. He has people bathing him and bowing down to him. He has and he grows up in this way. And Aishwarya, he's a multi-billionaire and very powerful. He can have thousands of people working for him in his different factories, or he can be the president of a nation. So that do you know that 50,000 approximately young boys got killed in Vietnam because Johnson, president of the United States, and the other one before him, I forget who that was, they were sending them there to get killed. And I saw a video where the man said, Johnson said, well, we were already in there. I know they want to stop fighting, but it wouldn't look good. It might be embarrassing for us to back down. So he sent 50,000 people just to be killed, so he shouldn't be embarrassed.
Hmm.
There was no need for any of them to be there. So power. So you take people, prestigious family, power, and wealth, and very beautiful, and they have fan clubs. You know that there are movie stars and rock and roll singers, etc. They have thousands or millions of people who would do anything just to touch them. So Sri, that's beauty, and Sutta, you have these highly educated people, these professors and philosophers, and they are teaching people, and they have nothing to say. They know nothing. They're in the cycle of birth and death, but they have following, and they have bestsellers. How many people every week there's a new bestseller? They're selling millions of books. People want to have a copy of the book signed by these wonderful people. So a person in that position, I'm trying to remember the phrase in Sanskrit. A person in that position cannot surrender to Krishna. They can't. They're they're like a surfer who's riding a very high wave. A person has to be totally finished. That nothing is working. Akinchana gochara. That person can take up this practice because they have nothing else going for them. They are capable, because the other person has attachments. But the person that has nothing to be attached to is totally what was the translation? Materially exhausted. That means, what does it mean? Materially exhausted means I give up. I just can't be happy in this material world. Nothing is going to make me happy in this world. It's not going to work. He can take it up. He can take it up. But as long as people have these attachments, they can't take it up because they're trying to enjoy these things.
Mm.
And trying to enjoy these things is the complete opposite of being a devotee. It's the complete opposite. They're trying to enjoy separate from what is the sense. Krishna's pleasure, a devotee under our constitutional position, is that Krishna's happiness is my happiness, or Srila Prabhupada's happiness is my happiness. But it's not an idea, it's an experience. It's not an idea, it's a revelation that if I want to be happy, there's no other way except that all right, I'm going to say something that people are going to want to shoot me, okay?
Let's shoot you right now.
Okay. Buddhism is bad. That's what that they're atheists, okay?
Mm.
But Srila Prabhupada says, take gold even from a filthy place.
Yes.
You find gold in a stool pit, you go down there and you get the gold. So in any case, they're teaching what love is. So I looked online the other day. How does love define? They said the attraction between a man and a woman. They have affection for each other. They said so many things what love is, but they don't. So, but in that Buddhist text, they're saying that there's certain brand of Buddhism. They're called Theravada, and they in Thailand. They have this word, mudita. Mudita means sympathetic joy. What does it mean, sympathetic joy? It means taking pleasure in another person's happiness. It means that your happiness is my happiness. When you're happy, it makes me feel good. That's sympathetic joy. But they don't have a belief in it. But you take that same paradigm and you apply it to God. to Krishna, to take pleasure in Krishna's happiness. This is what everyone in the Krishna Loka is doing. This is what everyone in Vaikuntha is doing. It never occurs to them to look for pleasure in any other way. It's our constitutional position, but they're not doing it because it's a duty. It's spontaneous. It never
Yeah,
occurs to them to do it any other way. That is
right.
their happiness. I read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says that in the Vaikuntha planets, where they worship Lord Vishnu in awe and reverence, there is still husband and wife. If we go there, we can be married. But he says there's no sex. There's no sex life. It wouldn't occur to them
Well,
because they're so much engaged and delighted and happy. That's our normal position because we're part and parcel of a bigger body. Just like if we were, like your body has trillions of cells.
yes.
Say you were a cell in your body. What is the cell is trying to serve the body. And the cell's not trying to enjoy separately, or the leaf on the tree is trying not to water himself or water the other leaves, like doing good work, but pouring water on the root is
Yes.
happy. Is satisfied, automatically satisfied. So, but only someone who's a Kinchana Gochara, they're stuck. You got to, like you're attached to some sticky pole, when I was a non-devotee, sometimes I would see in people's homes, they have fly paper. The fly lands on the paper and can't get free. The people are so attached to trying to enjoy materially. If it's working for them, they can't let go. They're stuck.
Right, right.
Only the person who is materially exhausted is free to, all right, because that means their heart is there, but and can't be attached to anything else, to Krishna. But one who is freed by the mercy, it's Krishna's mercy that he makes this material world into a place of suffering. Birth, old age, disease, and death, the miseries of the mind, the miseries of the body, the miseries that other entities inflict on our mind and body, the miseries of providence, like the demigods, like tidal waves, what is that disease we all have now, that plague, the virus,
Coronavirus.
coronavirus.
Yes.
Yeah, the miseries of earth. I just read that a week or two ago, that how many people? Some 30 or 40,000 people were killed in one earthquake in where was that? In the Middle East. I forget what the name
Turkey?
of the country. Turkey. In one earthquake. And there's stories in the news. Of course, people like to read the news, that the man is in bed with his wife, with his family, and she's crushed because the building's collapsing on them. Okay, then there's whole villages covered by lava of a volcano.
Yeah.
The tidal tsunami, a tidal wave wipes out a city. It's endless. So this is a very miserable place. But those who are doing have better karma. They're thinking, oh, it's very nice. And they're in anxiety all the time, actually, because they're trying to improve their position or maintain their position. So, people, now the banks have collapsed. One
yes.
big bank in California. But who's affected by this collapse? people with millions of dollars in the bank.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know, so there. But you take somebody who has nothing, and they have a chance to actually be attracted. Now, this is not my idea. This is how it's expressed. This is the prayers of Queen Kunti.
Mm.
So as she's saying to Krishna in her prayers, please keep me in that miserable condition, because in that way
Remember
I'll
you.
stay
Yeah.
close to you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a fact. So you were saying, yeah, it's a very big challenge, you said. And
Mm.
how does one approach such a challenge? The only approach is that I'm not stuck like a fly to fly paper to the
Mm.
things of this world. That's how
Mm.
they're stuck. They're stuck like and the fly is going to die on that fly paper.
Yes.
In the same way, those who want to enjoy this world are going to die trying to enjoy this world. but but they can't give it up because they're stuck. They're like flies on fly paper. So the whole world is like that. But one who's unstuck, he's free to fly. So he's unstuck by Krishna's mercy that he makes. So we came here in a perverted determination to enjoy separate from Krishna, and he gives us the chance, but he's so kind that he turns it into a kind of therapy. The therapy is that you're nothing's really happening to you because you're an eternal spirit soul, but you're going to have, it's going to be like a bad dream
Mm.
because it's not real. It's an illusion. It's an illusion, but this dream, like we have a subtle material energy is our dream at night. It's subtle material energy. Mind is material. In the daytime, we have a gross dream.
Mm.
This dream we're having is gross, but it's a dream, just like the dream at night.
Yes.
The dream at night lasts for maybe a few minutes or an hour, and this dream that we're having lasts maybe 100 years.
Mm.
But it's a dream, and it's a bad dream. And that's our therapy. That you have heard maybe of hypnotherapy.
Yes.
That this is Krishna's hypnotherapy.
Mm.
Krishna's put us in hypnotherapy, and we're suffering. But because we're like flies stuck to fly paper, because we're trying to enjoy it so much, and we're getting a little encouragement. Although, I read that there are, I forget the statistics, the number of children under 10 years old who are today in America on anti anxiety pills and things like that.
Mm.
People are suffering. The amount of people who commit suicide, people are suffering. So that people are divorced, that people are so there's so much problems. So but nothing's happening to us. But we're thinking it's real. We're eternal spirit souls. We're indestructible. But we're thinking, and the dream is gross. The dream is gross. And we're living in this dream, and we're trying to enjoy it. And this dream is to wear down our spirit of independence so that we get unstuck, and so that we get materially exhausted. And then we're capable of climbing that mountain, because that mountain's not hard to climb. What's hard to climb is to get rid of our attachment to the material world. But as soon as that is accomplished, it's very easy. You love so many things. Srila Prabhupada says you already have the ability to love. Love me, Krishna says. Mame come, Sharanam. Now you don't you're finished loving these things. You're disgusted with the whole 9 yards, the whole ball of wax. Now, okay, now you have that need to love, that propensity to love. Now you understand that you should love me. So then that person can make that. But there's another part of the equation, and that's what we were talking about. That in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, now we know who Krishna is because we've read Srimad Bhagavatam. We've read Bhagavad Gita, and we know, oh, what's my real position? But we should love God, but we don't know enough to love Him. We have to hear about Him. Therefore, we have Srimad Bhagavatam. But how do we learn to love Him? That's Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that's what I want to say. That's where we began this talk. That how did Lord Chaitanya teach love of God? Just like we say, Namo Maha Badanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Goratashe Namaha. He's more kind than any other avatar because he's freely giving what no other avatar has ever given before. Has ever given before. He's giving pure love of Krishna. So I'm thinking within myself, I'm practicing sadhana bhakti for so many years, and I'm thinking, if he's giving freely, why I don't have it? He's giving freely, why I don't have it? Well, it's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita how Lord Chaitanya is giving freely. He's giving by subjective instructions. Lord Chaitanya is sharing Krishna consciousness by subjective instruction. That's why the purport about subjective instruction occurs in Chaitanya Charita. And that's described over and over and over how Lord Chaitanya is distributing love of God. That those who were with him when he was engaged in kirtan, all through his tour through South India, wherever he went, people were spellbound and overwhelmed by his ecstatic feeling. That's how he's teaching love of God. And the same thing, and so Srila Prabhupada said, writes, well, Lord Chaitanya was here 500 years ago. How am I going to get a piece of the action? Srila Prabhupada says, you can hear Lord Chaitanya singing in ecstasy through our disciplic succession. And that's what this verse is saying. What are they singing about? They're singing about Krishna. And we're supposed to hear from the right person who's delivering the message of Lord Chaitanya.
Right.
And so he's not giving you just a philosophy. That's objective instruction. He's giving us subjective instruction. And Srila Prabhupada writes there and that there's two kinds of spiritual masters. And the master is giving subjective instruction. And he's distributing Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Srila Prabhupada writes, or Krishna Das Kaviraj, that Lord Chaitanya imbued into the hearts of his personal associates so much of his own devotion, they became non-different in their power to distribute this as Lord Chaitanya himself. So, so let's go back to the verse again that we were just reading. I mean, the end of the purport. To the purport there. Oh, yeah. So one has to hear the idea. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about the Lord, one can become one of the associates. Narada Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge. He has unfathomed bliss. So you see, he's a pure devotee. He's carrying this ecstasy in his heart, and he can travel all over the material and spiritual world without restriction. Srila Prabhupada had five or 6,000 students, and many of them never met him. Does that mean that? No, he can be everywhere. Space and time, because he's a transcendental person, our relationship with him is not limited by time and space. He's an eternal being. One can have a transcendental meaning. Relationship with Srila Prabhupada means one can have a relationship with him that time and space are irrelevant. It's in the heart. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada writes that the disciple should have a heart-to-heart relationship with the spiritual master who has Krishna in his heart. He can put Krishna in your heart. How? That's described here. One can attain the highest perfection of life by attentive hearing of the past transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right source. As Sri Narada Muni heard from the pure devotees. That's the right source. Not these nonsense rascals posing as spiritual master in the institution called ISKCON. One can attempt by hearing from the right source, as Narada Muni heard them from the pure devotees from the Bhaktivedantas in his previous life. And this process of hearing in the association of devotees, this is especially recommended in this age of quarrel, Kali Yuga. So that means one should have ardent hearing, that inquiry, submission, and service. That is Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Nonsense questions are condemned. One should be asking how I can develop this love. And submission means that if my heart is open enough, because I'm hearing from someone whose voice is decorated with the saffron dust particles on the lotus feet of Krishna, if I'm hearing him with all my heart, ardent oral receptivity, this is submission. If the submission is there, those saffron dust particles from Krishna's lotus feet can go into my heart through that sound vibration. So therefore, when the student is submissive and ready to render service, means, what does ready to render service mean in the next sentence? He said that the spiritual master is very kind. He wants to share with us, but we have to be submissive enough to receive. So submissive, I was thinking about it, submissive and surrender. You can be submissive. In wrestling, there's a submission hold. That two men are wrestling in the arena in public, and one twists the other one's arm, and it's so painful that he pounds the canvas floor with his hand, telling the referee, stop the match, I surrender, that's it, I submit. That's a submission hold. One can be submissive, one can surrender to the police as a criminal. The police come and they say, put up your hands, and they hold the gun, in front of him, and he says, I surrender.
Mm.
But there's no love.
Yeah.
There's no love. But submission and surrender in Sharanagati. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining the process. Submission in spiritual life means with love I open my heart to my spiritual master. Therefore, in the same Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Srila Prabhupada says, that if and he's quoting a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, and he says, if the disciple has genuine love for the spiritual master, everything will be revealed. Everything will be revealed. In other words, the ability to imbibe the taste of devotion that he is sharing with us through this subjective instruction, the ability to receive what his mood of devotion in our heart is dependent. If a disciple has genuine love for the spiritual master, everything will be revealed. So we're quoting now from our books that what inquiry submission. So the inquiries I want to know, because I'm not like a fly stuck to the flypaper anymore. I'm open now. I'm ready to receive, and the ability to receive is if we open our heart to him. And if we open our heart to him, pure devotion, as we read in the last text, is like that again, that attachment we were talking about is again in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 12, that our heart can reflect the quality of the pure devotee, but the mirror of our heart has to be clean. To reflect, the mirror has to be clean. It's a metaphor, of course. So, in this, but if we're like flies stuck to the flypaper of the pleasures of the material world, that's not clean. So clean means that my affection is not there, but my affection is with my spiritual master, and it's a choice. We can't do both. So Maya and Krishna consciousness are mutually exclusive. If one, if I'm like a fly on the flypaper of this material world, and my affection is to illusion, illusion will be increased. I'll be stuck. I won't be able to break it. But if I'm materially ready, exhausted, and I can open my heart to my spiritual master, then that pure devotion, prema bhakti hoite avidya vinasha, from him this love emanates, like light emanates from the sun. Prema, hoite avidya vinashayate. And this, if I can receive it, that will destroy all my ignorance, because of my heart will have some of his love in my heart. And the spiritual love. Therefore, he said that pure devotion is as much infectious in the good sense, just like getting infected by a material disease by association. We become infected with his devotion, which means to imbibe the taste of his devotion. And this makes all other things, this taste makes material taste useless to us.
So
Unattractive.
we can
So this is, shoot.
So we see
So,
that Srila Prabhupada was sharing this, but it seems like that the disciples were not able to, or they were not ready for it. So he did not reveal much more than he had to.
no, no, he reveals 100%.
He revealed it
Because
100%.
Srila Prabhupada writes this,
Hmm.
that even if the pure devotee is not making a demonstration of his ecstatic symptoms, he's always having them, and that is perceived by the devotee, by the disciple whose heart is open.
Okay.
That will be perceived as much as our heart is open, even
Ah.
though he's not making a public display of
Okay,
his
got it.
symptoms.
Try.
That's written in our books. So we have to be, because
Receptive.
it's a transcendental relationship, and
Hmm.
he's the external manifestation
Super
of
soul.
Krishna in our heart.
Yes.
He
Hmm.
can, he within our
Knowledge.
heart, he can enable us to understand his mood. He reveals himself to us if we are, as much as we open our heart to him. Then the next step is that when we get the taste,
Hmm.
then that taste becomes the flavor of our sadhana.
Hmm.
That taste becomes the flavor of our sadhana.
Hmm.
Then, so he says, inquiry, submission, and service. Then when we do that, our service in that mood, that means we're in his association.
Hmm.
Because we can't have that mood without feeling his presence. Therefore, we should always be engaging in Krishna consciousness in the association of a pure devotee.
Yes.
Under the guidance
Of the
of a pure
devotee.
devotee means he's teaching me how to be a devotee. Therefore, devotional service is not a reader's
Apprenticeship.
manual
Yeah.
instruction, it's an apprenticeship program.
Hmm. Yes.
Working under the master who's telling you, not like that, like this. Feel it like this when you put that cement there and that brick on there. It's have the
The feeling.
feeling.
Yes.
That subjective instruction is feeling. He's giving us subjective instruction. In that sense, it's an apprenticeship program. All of these things are in our books. So then, so inquiry, how can I do that? Submission, receive it, prema bhakti ahoite, and service. Service means now that I've received it, that becomes the baseline. That saturates my sadhana. But for who? For who am I saturating that sadhana? There it says, right?
Yes.
Subjectivism based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste. So that's Srila Prabhupada used these words. So then, so when I'm doing this service now, am I serving Krishna? Am I, now I'm ready to serve? No! We're engaging sadhana for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, that you're showing me how to do it, and I'm doing it with this subjective instruction, following your subjective, and for his pleasure.
Try.
So he's eternally our teacher. So these three things of inquiring, being submissive, and serving, you can't separate them. They're not linear. It's not that one thing leads to another. They're simultaneous. It's the demeanor of a real disciple to be in ardent inquiry, just like Krishna Das Kaviraj praying at the lotus feet of praying at the of Rupa Raghunath, always desiring their mercy.
Hmm.
This is our position. This is the inquiry, that please let me understand. And by your association, I can have a glimpse of this, of prema bhakti hoite. Then I can render service in this case for the pleasure of my spiritual master. And as we try to please him in this way, he reveals more to us. In this way, he takes us from one level of bhakti to another. But it begins at the neophyte stage.
Hmm.
One doesn't have to be advanced to do that. This is not about advancement.
Hmm.
This is not about bhava. This is not about ruchi. This is not about prema. This is not about asakti. This is about initiation.
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada says Diksha means the beginning of cultivation of a heart-to-heart connection, not a user's manual that he gives me so many instructions, and if I follow the instructions how to use this blender, I'll be able to make a nice drink for myself. It's not a user's manual, it's an apprenticeship program. It's
Right.
engaging devotional service under the guidance of the
Guidance.
pure devotee, in the association of the pure devotee. This is called subjective instruction. Objective instruction can be on the spot one time, one moment, but subjective instruction is not. Subjective instruction means that the application is always being done under his guidance, in his association. Otherwise, there is no subjective instruction. It's the basis of our sadhana. So then, so these are, we describe them in words because that's all we have at our disposal for describing the path of devotional service. But inquiry, submission, and service, I'm looking for the right words. They can't be separated. They're all part of our moment-to-moment relationship with our spiritual master, praying at his lotus feet, always desiring his mercy.
Yeah, it seems like the disciple is never without his spiritual in service. Yes.
Just like he says, somebody says, we're doing deity worship. Srila Prabhupada said, we should be doing deity worship. Worshiping. You know what Srila Prabhupada said?
You're not
He
worshiping,
said, when
I am
you're
worshiping.
worshiping the deity, you're not worshiping the deity. You're helping me worship the deity. Because he's asking that our service be connected with Krishna, but he's responsible. And so he's saying, now it's not a game. I'm taking this responsibility to help you on your behalf, but you should be working under my direction, even worshiping the deity without meditating on Srila Prabhupada. It's not deity worship. The deity will not be revealed to you that way. Just like it says in Chaitanya Harinam Chintamani, how you chant Hare Krishna. You can't chant Hare Krishna. He says you should be meditating on your guru, Haridas Thakur. The Namacharya is talking. And he's just saying this to Lord Chaitanya, who's embracing him. And he's saying when you're chanting Hare Krishna, you're meditating on your guru while you're chanting, because you're learning from him. What is the taste of chanting Hare Krishna? You can't do these things. We can't approach Krishna independently. We're under the guidance of the realized, enlightened a pure devotee in his association under his guidance, whether it's chanting Hare Krishna or whether it's worshiping the deity or whether it's doing Tulsi Puja or whether it's washing the dishes. Everything is
Always.
karma under his guidance. And therefore, in the Mahabhadanaya Krishna, he's distributing love of Krishna freely. So why don't I have it if it's free? What no other avatar has even offered before. He's giving it freely. Why don't I have it? Because I don't have that connection with that relationship with my spiritual master. That's why I don't have what's given freely. Because that's how it's given. It's given freely through the disciplic succession. Therefore, it's not a user's manual. It's an apprenticeship program. And it's not. This will be understood as much as the individual disciple is sincere in his desire to approach God. And if he's not sincere enough, he'll not understand. And everything he's doing is progressive. Maybe he'll do it for a lifetime. Maybe he'll do it for 100 lifetimes. Maybe he'll do it for 1,000 lifetimes. Do you know what Krishna says in Chaitanya Charitamrita? He says, you do everything by the book perfect, you can go to Vaikuntha. But you can't go to Krishna Loka. That's written. Krishna is speaking. And he says this, that they cannot come to my Krishna Loka unless they have these kinds of feeling for me, like the people in Krishna. No other incarnation or avatar can even distribute the rasas of Krishna Loka. That's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Only Krishna himself can give it, and he comes as Lord Chaitanya to distribute it. So then, so he says that you do everything perfectly by the book. Here you have again, these things are they're helpful. Deity worship, worshiping the deities, even transcendental realization, understanding that I'm not this body. How many people do you know have reached that position? We're conditioned souls, we're neophytes. So many things, studying the scripture, take under the strict vows and regulations, doing everything perfect. So it's helpful. It's helpful. But how to develop love of God or no.
Someone who has
Krishna
it, they can
says,
give it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's only in our disciplic succession. So that be because they're coming in the line from Lord Chaitanya. So Krishna says, I'm going to go down to this planet Earth and I'm going to teach people how to have these feelings so that they can come to Krishna Loka. He says that. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, but I'm going to teach it by taking the role of a devotee. And that's how I'm going to teach it. That's subjective instruction.
Feelings,
and that's being coming down through our disciplic succession, and not everybody can take it, but it's not expected that everyone can take it. Srila Prabhupada writes in preface of Bhagavad Gita, last sentence or two, that if one person becomes a real devotee, he'll consider the distribution of all these millions of Bhagavad Gitas a success. If one person can get it, he doesn't expect that we'll get it, but we're starting. He's asking us to, but he can't. He won't force us. So yeah, yeah. If even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. In other words, he knows who we are. He knows what we are. He knows we're not ready. He knows we're like flies stuck to the fly paper, the attractions of this material world. He knows we can't give them up. So because we're not ready yet, because we're not what? We're not a kinchana gochara. We're not materially exhausted. What do we need in order to? We need more suffering. We need to, and we haven't suffered enough. Maybe we need a few hundred more births before we are ready.
So, 1 second here. I'd like to stop here, Ishan Prabhu, and ask for some questions or comments from our devotees here. They've been very kindly listening. If they have anything they'd like to say, please feel free here for the next few minutes. We have Vinayak here from Japan. We have Mohit from India. And it's 2 devotees who joined here. Anything, Prabhus? Feel free to unmute and comment or share. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, speak louder, Prabhu. Louder.
So, Prabhu, like a thing about just one thing it was mentioned about the chanting. So we cannot imagine about Krishna while chanting, or we have to imagine Srila Prabhupada instead.
You can think of Krishna while chanting, of course. But how are you going to see Krishna? Premanjana Churita Bhakti Velochanena Santa Sadraiva Hridayeshu Velokyanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarukam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That is, the instruction is given that the spiritual master is the transcendental via media to see God, like you are wearing glasses. Someone is wearing glasses. You see through those glasses. You want to think of Krishna. You can't think of Krishna properly unless you think of him. How? Your eyes have to be smeared with the ointment of love of God. Where are you going to get that? You by having subjective instruction how from the pure devotee who's sharing that love with you, and you see through him. So you can think of Krishna, but he will give you the realization of Krishna. You'll really see Krishna. You can think of Krishna when you're chanting, but if you want to have that, Krishna will talk to you and appear before you when you're thinking of him. Only you have to have enough love. And where are you going to get that love? When you see him through the eyes of Srila Prabhupada as your glasses, as your transparent via media to see God, quote unquote, then you'll see Krishna when you're thinking of Krishna while chanting. Of course, if you don't do it that way, it's good. But if you really want to see Krishna in person, then you have to go according to the science of Krishna consciousness, the way it's described in our literatures. It's not my idea. It's the science. And we have to learn the science. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Like, did Srila Prabhupada mention it somewhere that while chanting we have to think about our spiritual master instead of Krishna?
Not instead. Never instead.
But along with.
Simultaneously. Then he says, do you think of Krishna in the association of the pure devotee? You engage in devotional service in the association of the pure devotee under the guidance of a pure devotee. That means you think of Krishna in the association of Srila Prabhupada, under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada.
Right.
It's our science.
Hmm.
It's in our books. Now, some people ask, how can you talk like that? Do you have that realization? We're not talking about my realization. If I say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a class, okay? Is somebody going to challenge me and say, how can you say that? Have you had that realization? But we're all giving class.
Hmm.
Devotees are being instructed to give class and to attend class and to speak the science of Krishna consciousness. So just like I'm allowed to say that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because what is my authority? My authority is that Srila Prabhupada has authorized all of us to repeat this philosophy. And that's what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm not pretending to be anything. I'm repeating our philosophy because to devotees who like to hear this philosophy.
Hmm.
That's why we do this together. This is our association together. What? Okay, I'm fool number one, but I'm speaking our philosophy.
Hmm.
And why? Because we share with each other this philosophy, because it gives us, it's our GPS. You know what is GPS? This little device, it tells you where you are and how to get to where you want to go.
Hmm.
This is a GPS for Krishna consciousness. We know where we are. We're flies on the flypaper of the material attachment, and we're stuck, and we want to go to Krishna. So then we have this instruction, and we share this instruction to give ourselves an orientation. Now, if I don't feel ready to have a personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada, even though he instructs us in his books that to have diksha means to cultivate a heart-to-heart connection with the pure devotee who has Krishna in his heart, and he can put Krishna in your heart. If I don't feel that I'm capable yet to do that, then I should begin to pray. Pray to my spiritual master. Please, you give me the intelligence, give me the desire, give me the determination to cultivate a personal relationship with you, so I can begin to cultivate Krishna consciousness in your association under your guidance. Because I understand that there's no other way to get close to Krishna. Period. There's no other way to get close to Krishna except by his mercy. You know, when you have, because we're talking about devotion. Let me give you an idea. Srila Prabhupada says, imagine a housewife. She has a husband, but on the side of her husband, outside the family, outside the house, she has a secret lover. Imagine. She's just so much in love with this other man. Hopefully it's a man in this day and age. You don't know. So, but she has a secret lover. It is you can understand this. So she's doing all her household duties, okay? Srila Prabhupada tells this story. She's doing all her household duties. But she cannot stop thinking about this lover. And what happens is her heart is so surcharged with this love for him that all of her activities become saturated with this loving feeling. Everything is turning into devotional service.
Right.
The same way when we have this relationship with Srila Prabhupada, it is sweeter than any love affair in this material world. Totally. There's no comparison. Not only you, in this world, all relationships, there's anxiety. Will she, will he, this, that. People. When we have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada and we feel his love, that is so nice that we carry it in our heart. And we love it. We want it. We don't want to forget it. So then, without, how do I engage in devotional service? How do I remember this is devotional service? How do I stop thinking of other things while I'm putting incense in front of Krishna? How do I stop thinking of other things while I'm chanting Hare Krishna, my japa? How do I, I'm supposed to feel devotional, but the devotees tell me this. But how do I control my mind? It's going everywhere, even when I'm doing sadhana bhakti. What to speak of daily duties, household responsibilities, wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, do this, do that, do my job, drive the car. How do I, if the loving connection was there, that love will saturate the connection with Srila Prabhupada. That love will saturate all of our activities, whether it's sadhana or our daily duties in this material world. That love will turn everything into devotional service without trying. Just like that woman, without trying, all of her activities are done with love, whatever she's doing in the house, because her activities are saturated with the love in her heart that she's feeling for her secret lover.
Right.
This is wonderful. This is the easiest thing to do. You try to be a jnani, and how austere they have to be. No social connection. Jnani, and they sit and recite the Vedanta Sutra and know anything. Or you try to be a yogi, you're going to go to the Himalayan mountains and sit on an iceberg, on a glacier, and take your bath in the frozen water there, and wait for people to bring you a contribution, so maybe you can have something to eat. You want to be a yogi, you want to be a jnani, or you want to do Samkhya yoga, where you can meditate so deeply, where first you have to do the eightfold yoga separate, yam, niyam, asan, sitting in the yogic postures, pranayam, breathing exercises to control the mind, and then deeper and deeper and deeper, and you have to do it in the forest, and you can't and you can't see anybody else. They're so difficult. Who can do them? But this process is so easy. All we have to do, but it's so hard. It's so easy because all we have to do is open our heart to the self-realized pure devotee, and then receive from him prema bhakti ahoite. From him this love is emanating.
Right.
Why is it emanating? It's for us. It's only for us. He doesn't need to be in the material world, but he's emanating love of Krishna Prema Prema Bhakti Yaha Hoite. He's emanating. Why? To share with us. Why do we sing that? Why does the Acharya write that? Narottam Das Thakur? Why does he write that? To tell us that this is where you'll get it. You can't get it anywhere else. Prema Bhakti. It's okay. Somebody's talking to someone in their house. But the idea is, why does the Acharya write that? To tell us the lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain this kind of loving service by subjective instruction, by opening our heart to his energy, to his devotional energy, and then engaging in Krishna consciousness under his guidance as an apprenticeship, lover of God. And he accepts our service on Krishna's behalf, and he purifies it and offers it to Krishna, just like we're offering prasadam to Krishna. We can't. We offer to our spiritual master. He offers to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya offers to Krishna.
Right.
We cannot engage, and this is the way, this is the science of Krishna consciousness. I do not write these books. I'm just repeating what's written in them. I'm excited about it, and I'm hopeful that I can begin to practice this way.
Vinayak Prabhu, any other comments or questions, realizations? I think you had something you wanted to say. Yes.
No, Prabhu, so far.
Okay.
I'm just focusing to here.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Did that answer make it sense?
Yes, it made sense, Prabhu.
It's meaningful. It's a beautiful philosophy. We have Krishna consciousness. It's a science, and yeah, and we share it with each other. I tell you, and you tell me, and in that way we encourage each other, and we keep this. It's a GPS. It tells us, it gives us a sense of direction, what's in front of us, what is this path? First we have to contemplate it, and then we have to desire to, what is this? You write that you have desire to avail, but why
This is an letter to Govinda Dasi regarding association. I looked it up. So, Ishan Prabhu, maybe you can read it. Is it okay?
Srila Prabhupada writes to his disciple, you write that you have a desire to avail of my association again, means to have my association. But why do you forget that you are always in association with me? When you're helping my missionary activities, I'm always thinking of you. You are always thinking of me. That is real association. Just like I always think of my Guru Maharaj at every moment. Just like I always think of my Guru Maharaj at every moment, although he's not physically present. And because I'm trying to serve him to my best capacity, I'm sure he's helping me by his spiritual blessing. You see, we receive his blessing as close as we are to him within our heart. That's where the blessing comes, not by following a list of do this and do that. don't do this and do that. Yes, we have to do this and we have to do that, but it's for his pleasure.
Right.
And he's pleased not by our doing. He's pleased by the love with which we do it for him. You can give $1 million to Srila Prabhupada and not receive his blessing. You can give $1 billion to the deity in the temple and go about your business. You won't necessarily, but if you offer a leaf, a piece of fruit or water with love, this is accepted and you'll receive blessing. So it's not what we do, although doing is important. All of that, if one does all of that, a robot can do. All of that, what we do, keeping all the rules and regulation and the chanting and bathing and rising and artik and everything, as we read earlier, it's helpful.
Yes.
So what does that help? That if I keep doing like this, I'll get purified, 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 purified. But when I become purified enough, I'll be able to understand that the only way to really advance in Krishna consciousness is when I become a submissive, heart-to-heart connection disciple of my spiritual master. It's all good, but if we really want to go forward, this is the formula. This is the prescription. It's not a mechanical process. One cannot do this. And yes, there are letters where Srila Prabhupada says, if you chant 16 rounds, you will become God realized. Yeah, of course. But there's other things too. He's encouraging us that we're all going back to Krishna Loka in this lifetime. Imagine that. We're all going to Krishna Loka in this lifetime. And then the next sentence, if there's a pinch of material desire, when we leave our body, we're right back in this material world. A pinch.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, of course. So he's talking to encourage us. But what is he saying in preface of Bhagavad Gita? He's saying that he's not expecting hardly one person to become a pure devotee. He says, if one person becomes a pure devotee because I'm distributing this Bhagavad Gita, I'll consider the whole thing a success. He knows what we are. So if one wants to say, well, Srila Prabhupada said, if I chant 16 rounds every day, I'll go back home, back to Godhead, and let it. And if a person wants to say that's good enough, then that's good enough for him. But it's not my understanding of this way it's going to work. And so if someone wants to kid themselves, that's good. That's fine. But I think that's silly. That's unintelligent. We have to be intelligent. We have to understand that it's a matter of life and death.
What was unintelligent?
It's a matter of life and death.
Yes, Rupa Manjari, you had a question or comment?
I was asking, what was unintelligent?
It's unintelligent that a person thinks, oh, I'm doing all the do's and don'ts. I'm doing all the prescriptions. Get up early, take a bath, chant 16 rounds, attend Mongol Arti, go to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam class, engage in Tulsi Puja, do all these things, distribute books, try to do your everyday activities when you're when you're washing the dishes, they're Krishna's dishes. Do it with the. So you can do all of that perfectly, but if we don't, if we're not doing them under the guidance of a pure devotee, it won't grow.
Hmm.
I have a close friend who told me, the president, vice president of temple for many years, who did deity worship every morning, who dressed Krishna every morning
Hmm.
very nicely. And then he said, what he said to me, I tried, Prabhu. It didn't work for me, so I quit. He wasn't getting bliss. He wasn't getting enough to hold him. You can do that, the whole formula perfectly, but you won't develop unless we are becoming under the guidance of a pure devotee, in the association of the pure devotee, for the pleasure of the pure devotee. We try to please him. We become very submissive. He's teaching us how to do all these things, and he will give us, our hearts will become infected with the taste of devotion that in these activities that he is sharing with us. And in that way, these activities will become gradually, step by step, ecstatic. And without doing it under his guidance, it won't become like that. And this is the process. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. We have to have a living relationship with a heart-to-heart relationship. Srila Prabhupada's words, Diksha means to initiate a heart-to-heart relationship with someone who has Krishna always in their heart, he writes. Then he can transfer that Krishna to your heart. How does he do that? He transfers his love of Krishna to your heart. And that love of Krishna captures Krishna.
Right. We're just about 8 o'clock, Prabhus. Any comments? I will read some comments from YouTube. There's one devotee named Lakshmi Almeida. She's saying, this is perfect timing. Thank you, Ishan Prabhu. She's been watching our video description or whatever discussions. So she's, I think, she's been a devotee some time now. So
What did she say?
She says, this is perfect timing. Thank you, Ishan
Your
Prabhu.
voice is breaking.
Oh, she said, this is perfect timing.
Wow.
Thank you, Ishan Prabhu. I think one of
Wow.
the points that
I don't.
she agreed on, or she's, she's resonating with, with, and then let's see here. And she made a comment.
We
I
say all
recently,
glories to Srila Prabhupada.
yes,
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada. Any last comments from our devotees here on Zoom?
What?
Yes, Ishan Prabhu.
Only one thing.
Hmm.
Nobody should be disheartened if they think, well, I don't know how to do this. Think about it. That's all we're trying to do. We're describing how it works and what is the science of Krishna consciousness, and contemplate and ask for help. Srila Prabhupada,
Right.
how do I do this? How do I get closer to you? And if you're, by the very act of praying to Srila Prabhupada like that, you are getting closer to him. You are getting. Start. You start by starting. How do you love someone? You love. How do I learn to love? You love by loving. There's no other way. And being sincere, how do I become sincere? By being sincere. How do I become submissive? By being submissive. So it's a cultivation. And don't be disheartened. Don't be intimidated. Don't be frightened by any of this. But simply be, that is, oh, good that I should hear these things. Now let me think about them. And if you read Srila Prabhupada's books
Try.
with a desire to understand these things, you will see this is what Srila Prabhupada is saying again and again. Prayer in our songbook to the spiritual master. I offer you all respect, for thus I may be able to understand you properly. Then, chanting the holy name with devotional feeling, in that way my offenses will cease. That when we understand his love for Krishna and we carry a feeling of it in our heart, we can begin to chant and our offenses will cease. We sing this every morning. Prema bhakti ahoite avidya, offenses, avidya vinasha, are finished. When we receive his love, and then we learn how to feel his love as the in our sadhana, as devotionals, that will make our offensiveness depart. We sing it every day. I'm not saying something new. I'm trying to shed light on the things you've been repeating every day of your life as a devotee. You've been saying these things. It's not something new that I'm saying. I'm trying to explain what you've been saying. From him, this love comes. From him, Krishna. And in this way, when we catch it, our ignorance is destroyed.
Try.
So simple. So simple.
All
Very
right.
wonderful. Very beautiful. Very, it's in front of us and it's available to us. And any slightest endeavor to make this personal connection is going on your record.
Try.
And it's going to grow. It's going to grow. Don't be, it's all positive. And our business is to remind each other and help each other like that.
All right, we're at.
Is Robert still here?
Yes, Robert is here. Rupa Manjari is here.
Yes, absolutely.
And
hi, Robert. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Robert, if you were here, I'd give you a big hug.
That's nice.
Thank you for letting me talk with you.
We have Mohit from India, and who else is Rupa? Rupa, any comments or realizations? Anything?
I just appreciated all of Ishan's distinctions. It was really helpful.
Try. Amazing.
Who is that? Who's that man at the bottom right of my screen? He's wearing a sport jacket, and he's a nice looking man. He looks like an intelligent, capable person.
I don't know.
Do you see? But he's here, right? I've seen him before, but I don't, there's no name under his picture.
I I don't know who you're talking about. Prabhu, there's only me and you on the screen.
Oh, okay. My screen is different.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Ishan
All
Prabhu.
glory.
Ishan
Jai
Prabhu ki
Prabhu.
jai.
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 We'll see-
Prabhu.
All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories
glories
to
to
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Jai, we'll see everyone on Sunday at 6 p.m. Next week. We'll discuss Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.27.
Okay.
All right, Prabhus. Yes, Ishan Prabhu.
It seemed did you give a link?
Yes,
Did you
Ishan
give
Prabhu.